My mom demanded I give my apartment to my sister, so I started recording everything. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I never thought I'd be the type of person to secretly record family conversations, but here I am at 27, sitting in my one-bedroom apartment in Chicago, listening to audio files of my mother's manipulation attempts. My name is Michael, and this is the story of how I finally stood up to my family's toxic dynamics by documenting everything. Let me provide some context. I'm the eldest of 3 children. My sister Emily is 20, currently in college, and my youngest brother Nathan is 18, just starting his freshman year. Our parents, David and Patricia, divorced when I was 15. Dad remarried and moved to Seattle, while Mom raised us in suburban Illinois. The divorce was messy, and Mom never really recovered financially or emotionally. I've always been the responsible one. Started working at 14, paid for my own college through scholarships and loans, and landed a decent job as a software developer right after graduation. 2 years ago, I managed to buy a small but perfect apartment in Lincoln Park. It's nothing fancy, just 650 square feet, but it has exposed brick walls, hardwood floors, and most importantly, it's mine. Emily, on the other hand, has always been Mom's golden child. She's studying marketing at DePaul, living in a cramped studio that Mom helps pay for. The apartment is tiny, maybe 300 square feet, in a less desirable neighborhood. Mom constantly complains about Emily's living situation, as if it's somehow my responsibility to fix it. The problem started 6 months ago when Emily began spending more time at my place. At first, I didn't mind. She'd come over to study, saying my apartment was quieter than hers. Then she started bringing friends. Then staying overnight. Then keeping clothes in my closet. Before I knew it, she was there 4 nights a week, and my utility bills had doubled. When I gently suggested she should contribute to utilities or spend more time at her own place, she ran straight to Mom. That's when the real manipulation began. "Michael, family helps family," Mom said during one of her infamous phone calls. "Your sister is struggling in that terrible apartment. You have all this space to yourself, it's selfish not to share." "Mom, I worked hard for this apartment. I'm still paying off student loans. Emily has her own place that you're helping her with. But it's so small. And you know the neighborhood isn't safe. How can you let your sister live like that when you have such a nice place?" These conversations became weekly occurrences. Then Mom escalated. She started showing up unannounced, always with Emily in tow. They'd walk through my apartment making comments about how much space I had, how Emily's textbooks would fit perfectly on my bookshelf, how the second closet could hold her clothes. 3 months ago, Mom dropped the bombshell. She called me on a Tuesday evening while I was debugging code for a work project. "Michael, I've been thinking. The most logical solution is for you and Emily to switch apartments. You're a single man. You don't need all that space. Emily could have friends over, study properly, and feel safe. You'd save money in a smaller place, and we'd make up the rent difference." I nearly dropped my phone. "You want me to give up the apartment I bought and move into Emily's rental?" "Not give up, sweetheart. Trade. It's temporary, just until Emily graduates." "Mom, I own my apartment. Emily rents hers. That's not how real estate works. Don't be difficult, Michael. We can work out the details. Maybe Emily could pay you rent for your place, and you could stay in hers. The rent she pays for her studio wouldn't even cover half my mortgage." "Well, we'd figure something out. The important thing is taking care of your sister." That conversation was my breaking point. But instead of arguing, I did something I'd never done before. I started documenting everything. I bought a discreet recording app for my phone and began saving every conversation. I screenshotted every guilt-tripping text message. I saved every manipulative email. I even installed a security camera in my apartment's entrance after Mom somehow got a copy of my key from Emily. The evidence I gathered over the next month was staggering. Mom called me selfish 43 times. She threatened to cut me out of the will 12 times. Joke's on her, there's nothing to inherit. She accused me of not loving my family 28 times. She compared me unfavorably to my absent father 18 times. She told extended family members I was refusing to help my struggling sister, conveniently leaving out that Emily's struggles were largely self-imposed and that Mom was enabling her refusal to budget or work part-time. The security camera caught some gems too. Mom and Emily entering my apartment while I was at work, measuring rooms, taking photos, and going through my closets. Emily literally lying on my bed and saying, "This will be perfect for when Brandon stays over." Brandon, by the way, is her boyfriend who Mom doesn't know about because he's 25 and unemployed. Last week, I organized everything into a comprehensive folder on my laptop. Audio files labeled by date and topic. Screenshots arranged chronologically. Video clips showing the unauthorized entries. I even transcribed some of the worst conversations for easy reference. Then I made backup copies. One on an external drive, one in cloud storage, and one on a USB that I kept at work. I wasn't taking any chances. The confrontation came yesterday. Mom had called another family meeting at my apartment. She didn't ask, just announced she and Emily would be coming over to finalize the apartment situation. I knew this was it. They were planning to pressure me into agreeing to their insane plan. I spent the morning preparing. I connected my laptop to my TV, organized my evidence into a presentation, and set up my phone to record the entire encounter. When they arrived at 2 p.m., I was ready. Mom walked in with her typical air of authority, Emily trailing behind with a smug smile. They sat on my couch like they owned the place. "Michael, we need to discuss the timeline for the apartment switch," Mom began without preamble. "Emily's lease is up in 2 months, so that would be the perfect time." "Mom, stop," I interrupted. "I've told you repeatedly that I'm not switching apartments with Emily. This is my home, which I purchased with my own money. The discussion is over." Mom's face flushed. "Michael David Henderson, you will not speak to me that way. I'm your mother, and I'm telling you what's best for this family." "No, you're telling me what's best for Emily. And I'm done with it. How dare you?" "Mom, before you continue, there's something you should know. I've been documenting our conversations for the past month." The room went silent. Emily's smug smile vanished. Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "You, what?" I turned on my TV and pulled up the first audio file. Mom's voice filled the room. "Michael, you're being incredibly selfish. What kind of brother lets his sister struggle while he lives like a king? I'm ashamed of you." Mom went pale. "You recorded me without my permission?" "Illinois is a two-party consent state for recordings," I said calmly. "However, these were recorded in my own home for my own protection against harassment. I've consulted with a lawyer friend. While I couldn't use these in court, there's nothing stopping me from sharing them with family members or on social media to defend myself against the lies you've been spreading." I played another clip, this one of Mom telling my aunt that I was probably gay since I wouldn't help Emily, and that's why I was being so selfish. Emily gasped. She hadn't known about that one. "Michael, please. I'm not done." I pulled up the security footage. "This is you and Emily entering my apartment without permission while I was at work. That's criminal trespass. I could file a police report." Mom stood up, shaking. "You wouldn't dare. Try me." I pulled up my phone. "I have a post drafted for Facebook. It includes the audio of you calling me a disappointment, the video of you trespassing, and screenshots of your texts threatening to disown me if I don't give Emily my apartment. Our entire extended family follows me. Your church friends follow me. Your co-workers follow me. One click, and everyone knows exactly who Patricia Henderson really is." Emily finally spoke up, her voice small. "Michael, you don't have to." "Oh, but I do," I turned to her. "Because you've been just as complicit. Here's you telling Mom that I must be hiding money since I can afford this place. Here's you suggesting Mom guilt-trip me about Dad leaving. Here's you literally planning to move your boyfriend in without telling anyone." "How did you?" "You had these conversations in my apartment, Emily, while using my Wi-Fi. On phones I help pay for because Mom insists family helps family." Mom sat back down, defeated. "What do you want?" "Simple. This harassment stops immediately. No more asking about the apartment. No more guilt trips. No more spreading lies to family members. No more unauthorized entries. Emily limits her visits to once a week, maximum, and only when invited. And you both apologize, genuinely apologize, for trying to manipulate me out of my home. And if we don't..." I held up my phone. "Then everyone sees everything. Your reputation at church, gone. Your standing in the family, destroyed. Your co-workers knowing you tried to manipulate your son out of his home. I even have that recording where you admitted to claiming Emily as a dependent on your taxes even though she's not, which I'm sure the IRS would find interesting." Mom's face went from pale to green. I hadn't planned to mention the tax fraud, but she needed to understand I meant business. "You're blackmailing us," Emily accused. "No, I'm protecting myself. You two have been emotionally blackmailing me for months. I'm just better at it. We sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Mom spoke, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry. For trying to force you to give up your apartment. For the guilt trips. For the lies to the family. I looked at Emily. She was crying now, but I couldn't tell if it was from shame or anger. I'm sorry too, she mumbled. I hate my apartment, and yours is so nice, and Mom said. Mom says a lot of things, I interrupted. You're 20 years old, Emily. Time to stop letting her fight your battles and manipulate people on your behalf. They left shortly after, both in tears. Mom hasn't called me since. Emily texted once to ask if I really would have posted everything. I replied with a simple, yes. The family group chat has been silent. I'm sure Mom and Emily are trying to figure out their next move, but they know I have receipts. Every manipulation, every lie, every guilt trip, documented and ready to deploy. I feel strange. Part of me feels guilty for threatening my own mother. But a larger part feels free. For the first time in my adult life, I don't have to dread her calls or unexpected visits. I don't have to justify my success or apologize for my boundaries. My apartment is quiet now. Just me, my code, and my exposed brick walls. Exactly how it should be. Update 1, 2 weeks later. I wasn't planning to update so soon, but the fallout from my confrontation with Mom and Emily has been more dramatic than expected. The first few days after the confrontation were eerily quiet. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. I actually got a full week of peaceful work-from-home days without interruption. But I knew the silence wouldn't last. Mom has never been one to accept defeat gracefully. The first sign of trouble came from my brother Nathan. He called me last Monday, confused and concerned. Mike, what did you do to Mom? She's been locked in her room crying for days. Emily won't talk to anyone. And Mom made some weird comment about you being dangerous now. I sighed. Of course Mom would try to play the victim. Nathan, did Mom tell you what she's been trying to do? Something about helping Emily with her apartment situation? I sent him 3 audio files, carefully selected ones that showed Mom's manipulation without revealing the most embarrassing details. Nathan was silent for a long moment after listening. Holy shit, Mike. She really tried to force you out of your apartment. For 3 months, Nathan. Constant guilt trips, lies to the family, even breaking into my place. That's insane. No wonder you recorded everything. Nathan, thankfully, understood immediately. He's been dealing with his own version of Mom's manipulation since starting college. She's been pressuring him to major in business instead of computer science because the family needs at least one successful child. His words, not mine. But Nathan's understanding was the exception. By Wednesday, the extended family had gotten involved. Apparently, Mom had reached out to her sister, my Aunt Linda, with a sob story about how I was threatening and blackmailing her. Aunt Linda, who has always been the family mediator, called me that evening. Michael, your mother is distraught. She says you're threatening to humiliate her publicly over a simple misunderstanding about apartments. Aunt Linda, it wasn't a misunderstanding. Mom tried to manipulate me into giving up my home. I have recordings. Patricia mentioned the recordings. Michael, recording family members secretly is deeply troubling behavior. I laughed, actually laughed. Did Mom also mention she was breaking into my apartment? Or that she's been telling family members I'm selfish and possibly gay because I won't give Emily my home? Or that she's been committing tax fraud? Silence on the other end. She didn't mention those parts, did she? I continued. Aunt Linda, I have everything documented. Would you like to hear some of it? That won't be necessary. No, I insist. I played her the recording of Mom telling someone, ironically, Aunt Linda's husband, that I was a disappointment and probably mentally ill for being so attached to just an apartment. Aunt Linda gasped. She said that about you. To Robert. Last month. There's more, but I think you get the idea. The call ended with Aunt Linda mumbling something about needing to process this information. Within hours, the family group chat exploded. Aunt Linda had confronted Mom about the lies, and Mom had apparently broken down and admitted to some exaggeration about the situation. But the real drama came on Friday. Emily's boyfriend, Brandon, the one Mom doesn't know about, decided to insert himself into the situation. He showed up at my apartment unannounced, trying to play the tough guy. You need to apologize to Emily, he said, attempting to look intimidating despite being 3 inches shorter than me and significantly less built. She's been crying all week because of you. Brandon, right? The unemployed 25-year-old who's been secretly living in Emily's studio. His face went red. How did you? I know everything, Brandon. Including your plans to move into my apartment once Emily convinced Mom to force me out. Yeah, I have that conversation recorded too. The one where you called me a pushover who would cave eventually. He stepped back. You can't prove. I pulled out my phone and played the audio. His voice filled the hallway. Babe, your brother's a total pushover. Keep working on your mom. We'll be in that sweet apartment by summer. Still think I'm a pushover? I asked. He left without another word. Emily called an hour later, furious that I'd humiliated Brandon. I reminded her that Brandon had come to my apartment to intimidate me and that he was lucky I didn't call the police for harassment. The weekend brought another unexpected development. Dad called. Apparently, Mom had reached out to him, for the first time in 5 years, to complain about my cruel behavior. Dad, who had been largely absent from our lives since the divorce, suddenly wanted to be involved. Michael, your mother says you're threatening to destroy her reputation? Dad, when's the last time you talked to any of us? That's not relevant. It's completely relevant. You haven't been involved in our lives for years. Mom's been running unchecked, manipulating all of us, especially me. I finally stood up to her, and now she's running to you? Where were you when she was trying to steal my apartment? Dad was quiet for a moment. She was trying to steal your apartment? I sent him the evidence folder. All of it. Every recording, every screenshot, every video. It took him 2 hours to go through everything. He called back that evening. Jesus Christ, Michael. This is abuse. Yeah, Dad. It is. I'm sorry. I should have been there. I should have protected you kids from this. Well, you weren't. But I'm protecting myself now. Dad offered to talk to Mom, but I declined. His involvement would only complicate things. But the conversation did reveal something interesting. Mom had been telling him for years that we kids didn't want contact with him, while telling us that he didn't want contact with us. Classic manipulation. By Sunday, the family dynamics had completely shifted. The relatives who initially sided with Mom were now distancing themselves. Aunt Linda had apparently shared some of what she'd learned with others, and Mom's credibility was shot. The cousin group chat, separate from the main family one, was buzzing with shock and support for me. My cousin Jennifer, who's a therapist, reached out privately. Michael, what you're dealing with is called emotional blackmail and gaslighting. Your documentation was brilliant. It's exactly what I recommend to clients dealing with narcissistic family members. The validation felt surreal. For years, I thought I was being too sensitive, too selfish, not family-oriented enough. Now, having everything documented and validated, I realized how deeply Mom's manipulation had affected my self-perception. But the biggest surprise came Monday morning. Emily showed up at my apartment, alone, for once. She looked terrible. Red eyes, messy hair, wearing sweatpants and one of my old college hoodies she'd stolen years ago. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I let her in but kept my phone recording, just in case. Michael, I've been thinking all week. About everything. I listened to those recordings you have, and I didn't realize how bad it was. How bad I was. Emily. No, let me finish. Mom's been telling me since high school that you got all the advantages. That Dad favored you before the divorce. That you got the better genes, the better brain, the better everything. She said the least you could do was share your success with me. Dad didn't favor me, Emily. He was just present for more of my childhood before the divorce. I know that now. I called him. We talked for 3 hours. He sent me photos from when we were kids, before everything went bad. You were always protecting me, weren't you? And I've been so horrible to you. She started crying, genuine tears, not the manipulative ones I'd seen so often. Mom made me believe I deserved your apartment. That you were selfish for not sharing. But you worked for everything you have. I've never even had a job. I just expected things to be given to me because Mom said I deserved them. Emily, Mom's been manipulating all of us. But I chose to go along with it. I chose to lie about Brandon. I chose to sneak into your apartment. I chose to try to guilt you. I'm 20 years old, not a child. I need to take responsibility. It was the most mature thing I'd ever heard her say. We talked for 2 hours. She told me about the pressure Mom put on her to be the perfect daughter after the divorce, how Mom used her as a weapon against Dad, how she'd been trained to see me as competition rather than a brother. I want to change, she said finally. I'm going to get a job. A real job, not the fake internship Mom arranged. And I'm going to pay you back for all the utilities I used. You don't have to. Yes, I do. And I'm going to tell Mom to stop the manipulation, or I'll cut contact too. Emily, you don't have to choose sides. There shouldn't be sides in a family, Michael. That's what I'm learning. She left with a genuine hug, the first real affection between us in years. That evening, Mom finally broke her silence. But instead of a phone call, she sent an email. A long, rambling message that alternated between self-pity, accusations, and attempts at guilt-tripping. The highlights included: I had destroyed the family with my recordings. I was just like my father, apparently the worst insult she could think of. I would regret this when she was gone. Emily was now turning against her because of me. The family would never be the same. She was considering moving away because of the shame. I drafted a simple response: Mom, I love you, but I won't accept manipulation anymore. When you're ready to have a healthy relationship with appropriate boundaries, I'll be here. Until then, please respect my space. But I didn't send it. Jennifer, my therapist cousin, had advised me not to engage with the emotional manipulation. Any response feeds the cycle, she said. Let her sit with the consequences. So that's where things stand now. Mom is spiraling, but it's a spiral of her own making. Emily seems genuinely committed to change. Nathan is using my situation as inspiration to set his own boundaries. Dad is trying to reconnect, though I'm taking that slowly. The extended family is split, but mostly supportive of me. And Brandon? Emily dumped him after realizing he was using her for the apartment situation too. As for me, I'm in therapy now, something I should have done years ago. I'm learning about boundaries, manipulation tactics, and how to maintain healthy relationships. My apartment feels like a real sanctuary now, not a fortress I have to defend. I've also changed all my locks and upgraded my security system. I'm not taking any chances. Final update, 3 months later. It's been 3 months since I threatened to expose my mother's manipulation tactics, and I wanted to provide a final update on how drastically everything has changed. The immediate aftermath of my last update was rough. Mom went completely silent for 3 weeks, no calls, texts, or emails. For someone who used to contact me daily with some form of guilt trip, the silence was both peaceful and unsettling. But I knew it wouldn't last. Mom doesn't do well without control. The breaking point came when Thanksgiving approached. Mom sent a group text to the family chat: I'm hosting Thanksgiving as always. I hope everyone can make it despite the recent family difficulties. The responses were lukewarm. Several relatives privately messaged me asking if I would attend. I made my position clear: I would only attend if Mom acknowledged her behavior and apologized genuinely, not just to me, but to Emily and Nathan as well. Emily surprised everyone by responding in the group chat: I won't be attending unless Michael is welcome and treated with respect. I'm also bringing Brandon. Yes, my boyfriend you pretended not to know about, Mom. Plot twist: Emily hadn't actually dumped Brandon. She'd been secretly working with him to get his life together. He'd gotten a job, they'd moved in together officially, in her studio, not my apartment, and they were actually building a healthy relationship away from Mom's influence. Nathan followed up: same. Mike's been the only honest person in this family. If he's not welcome, I'm out too. The family chat exploded. Cousins taking sides, aunts trying to mediate, uncles staying conspicuously silent. But the momentum had shifted. The 3 of us siblings were united for the first time in years, and Mom couldn't handle it. She called me that night, crying. But these weren't manipulation tears. I'd learned to tell the difference. These were tears of genuine fear and realization. Michael, I don't want to lose my children. Then stop trying to control us. I don't know how, she admitted. This is how my mother was. This is all I know. Then learn, Mom. Get therapy. Real therapy, not the church counselor who tells you what you want to hear. She was quiet for a long moment. Would you help me find someone? It was the first genuine request for help she'd made in years. I gave her Jennifer's therapist referral, someone who specialized in family dynamics and narcissistic behavior patterns. To my shock, Mom actually went, and kept going. Weekly sessions that she paid for herself, without dramatic announcements or requests for praise. Thanksgiving ended up being small, just the immediate family at Nathan's dorm apartment. Mom came, nervous and subdued. She brought a letter she'd written with her therapist's help, apologizing to each of us for specific behaviors. No generalizations, no excuses, just acknowledgement and apologies. Michael, she read from her letter, hand shaking, I apologize for trying to manipulate you out of your apartment. I apologize for the guilt trips, the lies to family members, and the violation of your privacy. I was wrong to enter your home without permission. I was wrong to try to control your life. You deserved better from your mother. Similar apologies to Emily and Nathan followed. We ate Chinese takeout instead of turkey because no one had the energy to cook. It was awkward but real, the first honest family gathering we'd had in years. The real test came in December. Mom's therapy was progressing, but old habits die hard. She called me about Christmas plans and started to slip into old patterns. Michael, since you have the biggest apartment, I thought. Mom. She caught herself. Sorry. I mean, would you be willing to host Christmas? If not, we can do it at my house. I'll think about it. Okay. Let me know. She hung up without guilt trips, without manipulation, without drama. It was such a small thing, but it felt monumental. I did host Christmas. Set clear boundaries. No staying overnight, no going through my things, no comments about my lifestyle or apartment. Mom followed every rule. When Emily started to complain about her apartment, Mom actually said, Emily, that's your responsibility to figure out. Your brother's home is his own. Emily and I exchanged shocked looks. Who was this woman? January brought more changes. Mom started dating, something she hadn't done since the divorce. A nice man from her therapy group named Richard, who'd also dealt with toxic family patterns. She asked our permission before bringing him to family events, respecting our boundaries in a way she never had before. Emily got promoted at her part-time job and started saving for a better apartment. She and Brandon were doing well, both in therapy themselves to break generational patterns. She hasn't asked to use my apartment in 2 months. Nathan changed his major to computer science despite Mom's initial protests. When she started to voice objections, she caught herself, apologized, and said, It's your life, Nathan. I trust you to make good decisions. The extended family has slowly adjusted to the new dynamics. Some relatives think I was too harsh. Others have privately thanked me for breaking the cycle. Aunt Linda told me last week that Mom had apologized to her for years of lies and manipulation, taking full responsibility without blaming anyone else. But the biggest change has been in my relationship with Dad. With Mom's manipulation exposed, we've been rebuilding. He comes to Chicago once a month now. We get coffee, talk about work, slowly filling in the years of absence. He's apologized repeatedly for leaving us with Mom's toxicity, and he's in therapy too now. I thought leaving was protecting you kids from our conflict, he told me last week. I didn't realize I was leaving you unprotected from her manipulation. Last week marked a full 3 months since the confrontation. Mom called to check in, a normal, healthy check-in. How's work, Michael? Good. Busy with a new project. That's nice. I won't keep you. Just wanted to say I love you. Love you too, Mom. No guilt, no manipulation, no hidden agendas. Just a mother and son having a normal conversation. I still have all the recordings. They're backed up, encrypted, and stored safely. Not as blackmail anymore, but as a reminder. A reminder of how bad things were, how far we've come, and why boundaries matter. My therapist says I might never fully trust Mom again, and that's okay. Trust is earned, and she spent decades destroying it. But we're building something new now, not the relationship she wanted where she controlled everything, and not the no-contact situation I thought was inevitable, but something healthier. Emily asked me last week if I regretted recording everything, if I wished I'd handled it differently. No, I told her honestly. Sometimes the only way to stop manipulation is to expose it. Sometimes you have to threaten the nuclear option to get people to change. Even family. Especially family. They're the ones who can hurt us the most. She nodded, understanding in a way she couldn't have 3 months ago. My apartment is still my sanctuary, but it's not a fortress anymore. Family members visit, when invited. They respect my space and my boundaries. Mom even complimented my decorating last week without suggesting changes or mentioning Emily's living situation. The other day, I was going through my phone and almost deleted the recording app. But I kept it. Not for family, I don't think I'll need it for them again. But the world is full of manipulators, and I've learned the value of keeping receipts. Mom's therapist reached out, with Mom's permission, to thank me. What you did was harsh but necessary, she said. Sometimes people need to face the full consequences of their actions to change. Your mother was heading down a path that would have destroyed your family completely. The recordings forced her to confront reality. I've shared my story anonymously in some online forums for people dealing with toxic families. The response has been overwhelming. So many people deal with similar manipulation but feel powerless to stop it. My story gives them hope and practical advice. Document everything. Set boundaries. Be prepared to enforce consequences. But the most important lesson: change is possible. Even the most toxic family dynamics can improve if everyone commits to doing the work. Mom will probably always have narcissistic tendencies. It's too ingrained, but she's learning to manage them. We'll probably never be the close-knit family she imagined in her controlling fantasies, but we're becoming something better, a family of independent adults who choose to love each other while respecting boundaries. Nathan summed it up best at dinner last week: "We're not the Hendersons Mom wanted us to be. We're the Hendersons we chose to be. And honestly, that's more than enough." My apartment remains mine. Emily and Brandon are happy in their studio while saving for something better. Nathan's thriving in his chosen major. Mom's in therapy and dating. Dad's back in our lives. The extended family has adapted to our new normal. It all started with pressing record on my phone. One small act of self-defense that changed everything. To anyone reading this who's dealing with family manipulation, document everything. Set boundaries. Be prepared to enforce consequences. And remember, you deserve respect, even from family. Especially from family. The recordings still exist, encrypted and backed up, a nuclear weapon I'll probably never need to use again. But Mom knows they're there. We all do. And maybe that knowledge, that actions have consequences, that manipulation can be exposed, is what keeps us honest now. Family gatherings are smaller but genuine. Conversations are careful but real. Love is present but no longer weaponized. It's not perfect, but it's healthy. And after 27 years of dysfunction, healthy feels like a miracle. My name is Michael, and this is how I saved my family by threatening to destroy it. Sometimes, that's what it takes.